Hey, it's me again. Happy Thursday. I'm on here with my friend Erica Moon.
Hello.
Hey, Erica.
Hello.
So I'm super excited that you're here with us today. Um, a couple of days ago, we had got a question. I had asked for some advice on some specific things to talk about. Okay. And one of the questions that I got really blessed my heart. I mean, it really touched my heart in a major way. And as I've mentioned to you on many occasions, that relationships matter 2020 is a community where we share our stories, we give advice, we talk about real life situations, our challenges, and we share what our victories have been. And this story, while it touched my heart, I didn't necessarily have the experience. And I started searching my heart of, who could address the situation. And guess who came to mind? It was Erica. Erica and I, we went to Rhema Bible College together, and we had like our first 2 years we had classes together all the time. Our last year was a little different because we specialized in different courses, but we were together for the first 2 years, and all of our classes were together. And we happened to be in one instructor's class, and he was talking about parents and how we are to treat and respect our parents. Well, both of us have had maybe some challenging times with one or more of our parents, but hey, um, we're in line, we're waiting to talk to him because both of us have questions. And I got the opportunity to hear just a little bit of Erica's story. And when I was searching my heart about this particular question that came up, Erica came to mind because I got to hear just a small snippet. And I was like, I would love to find out a little bit more about what Erica experienced to address this question. So let me just put it out there. The question that I am addressing today came from Michelle. And Michelle's question was, let me pull it up real quick. It's how do you deal with parents versus children relationships when the parents have never shown love, i.e., hugs, never said, I love you. Um, and then she goes on to say she never heard that she loved her from her parents. So as a teenager, she attached to people and clung very close to those relationships that were in her life. And with her kids, she tried to overcompensate because she didn't have that love from her parents, the love that she needed coming up. So, like I said, my mom and I've been really, really close all my life. My dad, he's played a role in my life. So I didn't necessarily have that experience, but Erica does have that experience. Now, I want to put this out there. You may not have experienced exactly what Erica has experienced. You may not have come up in the same background that Erica came up in, but I want to admonish you to stay tuned because there are some principles, there are keys, there are things that you can grab from Erica's life story. I mean, this story is amazing to see the challenges, to see the battles, to see all kinds of things, and then to see Erica come out on top. Like, this is super exciting. It's exciting. It's heartbreaking to some degree, but at the same time, you see Erica and how she navigated through those challenging times and how she came out on top. So without further ado, we're going to get into our discussion, parental dysfunction. How do you move forward? So, Erica, welcome.
Oh, I love that. So I got to start from the very beginning, right?
Yeah. So, tell me a little bit about just kind of like what the situation was, when your parents had you, and some of the things that you experienced.
Well, I had to start back in 1990. That's the year I was born, in July. My mom and my dad was only 13. My mom was only 14 when she got pregnant with me and had me at 15. So you could imagine that children having a baby. So my mother and my father at that age could not take care of me. So my grandparents, and I want to just give their names out, Barbara Carroll and Thomas Carroll, took me in as their own child. And so for the first few years of my life, I lived as the only child with my mom in the house. As a teenager, we grew up together. And when my mom got to a certain age, when she got older, she had a couple of more kids and decided to move to Wisconsin to form a life for her 4 boys and her boyfriend at the time.
Okay. So hang on, Erica. So you said you grew up in the house with your mom. So did you have like a mother-daughter relationship, or was she more like your sister or relative?
She was more like a sister to me. I knew that she was my mom. I knew that my grandmother was my grandmother, but I had that bond with my grandma as my mom. So anything that I needed, I would look to Barbara. Anything that I needed, I would look to Skin. He's my grandfather. So if I say Barbara and Skin, that's how my grandma and them raised me. I don't call them grandma, granddaddy. We'll get deep into that. But that's how, I was that girl. I had my own bedroom, my playroom. I was like their third kid, basically.
Okay. Now you said that your mom decided to move with her husband to another area.
Boyfriend. Yeah, her boyfriend in Wisconsin to raise her 4 boys.
Okay, so by now she's got 4 kids. How old is your mom?
My mom is about 2022, around that age. Because when I turned 8 years old, I turned 9. And my grandma looked at me and she was like, Erica, it's time for you to move with your mom and to Wisconsin. And I was like, what? I'm living the best life. Like, I don't want to live. I don't want to go out there. And my grandma said something so powerful to me. She said that I do not want to be the reason why you and your mom will not have a relationship. So I'm going to send you out there in Wisconsin to live with her so you can bond with your brothers and bond with your mom and also bond with your stepdad. So I get out there, they put my twin bed in the back of the truck. I'm in the seat, and I remember on the road, like visually seeing my grandfather driving. And you remember that song by TLC, I Know I'm Beautiful or something like that. I forgot the name of it. So I hear that song, and that song is emotional anyway. So my 9-year-old self, I'm crying to my granddaddy like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. Can I, And so I get there, in 2 weeks, I'm living there in the house with my mom, the kids. It's a whole different. But I'm going to say this. Like, when I first got there, my mom was awesome. Like, she set up my room for me. They just treated me good. But after 2 weeks, something happened, and we was taken away. And we were placed in foster care.
Wow.
And it just was like, I just got here 2 weeks ago. How do I'm living this perfect life, and now I'm getting transitioned to a foster care. So all 5 of us is me, my 4 brothers. And I remember us being in a child protective service room, and they just splitted us up. They gave 2 by 2. 2 brothers went to one foster home. The other 2 went to another foster home. And I went to a group home with kids everywhere. So I just remember me having to share a room with people. The first day I get to foster care, a girl hit me in the face with a comb.
Oh my gosh. So you went from living in a beautiful room, with your grandparents, your grandma, then you're shipped across the country. You're from Chicago, right?
Yeah,
what part of Chicago?
Yeah, South Side Chicago.
So Erica's from the South Side of Chicago. Her grandparents and her, they ride across the country to Wisconsin, out of all places.
Yeah.
She gets with her parents, and then as soon as she gets there, has to go to foster care.
Yes.
And then you get popped in the face the first day that you're there.
They didn't show no mercy. They said, you're going to learn today.
So are you in shock at this point?
I'm like, I can't believe this little girl just hit me. So I'm already in a state of shock that she hit me. And then they give you these twin beds and stuff. And like, you have to share. And I was getting picked on there. And so my grandparents finally came, my mom's parents finally came to try to get us back. And one thing that I noticed is that my daddy and his parents did not show up. They didn't come to no court meetings. They didn't come to call me. I don't remember any calls or anything. They didn't even try to come and get me. But my mom's parents came and they got denied. And I remember the first day I saw my grandma on the porch. And my grandma is a hard person. Like, she's a rough rider. Like Chicago, she don't cry. She don't show nobody no emotion.
Okay.
I saw my grandma shed tears.
Yeah.
I knew something was wrong. And she told me, Erica, I can't get you, but I'm going to get you later. And I'm like, what you mean? Like, these people ain't treating me right in here. Like, you got to come get me now.
Yeah.
And so after when she left that porch, I was so upset. I don't even remember everything. But I was crying so bad. The worker looked at me. She said, you need to go upstairs and lay down. So she looking at me. I run upstairs like it's a little movie and stuff, get on my twin bed, and I lay there and I'm crying and I'm kicking my feet like I want to leave this place.
Yeah.
And I remember me getting on my knees on that twin bed, and I hold my hands like this and I put my head like this and I cried out to God. And several days later, me and my brothers, all of us was released out of foster care.
Oh, wow. So you're in foster care, your grandparents can't get you, but your first instinct is not necessarily to get mad, but to pray.
Yes.
And ask God to release you, and you get released.
Yes.
Wow.
And that was my first time I can ever remember me praying, was at 9 years old.
Okay. So at 9 years old, so you go back to the south side of Chicago, you're living back. So now it's your brothers and you back with your grandparents.
Yes.
What happens to your mom? What goes on there? Does she try to get
my
back?
mom, I think that she got into a state of depression and unbelief in herself and lack of confidence. Like, she lost her willpower to get her kids, so she lost all her rights to her children. And I think at that moment she was stuck and she didn't know what to do, because the enemy was in her ear saying that your parents just don't want you to be the mom to your kids. And that wasn't the truth. My grandmother wanted my mom to come get us. My grandma is a older woman. You know, she just raised all her kids. Now she got to raise 5 kids and plus a cousin. So that's 6 kids.
Wow.
So it's like my grandma was ready. Anytime you want these kids, come get them. I have them packed up. But so yeah, and after when I started noticing my dad ways and my mom ways, you know, my dad, he only lived like 15 minutes, no, not even 15, like 5 minutes away from me. And he would ride past and beep his horn like, hey baby, and keep moving.
He would come visit?
Come visit every once in a while, but it was always so like, hey, bye, how you doing? It was one of those type of relationships. He never got to a place where he got to know me and I got to know him. And my daddy was having babies everywhere. I had a sister on the next block. I barely know her. I'm walking down the street one day and the girl's like, oh, you Eric's daughter. I'm like, who are you? She said, I'm Eric's baby mama. And I'm like, oh, okay. So it's just stuff like that.
Wow. How old is your dad at this time?
My daddy is like 24 and he has a lot of kids. I don't even know how many, like probably like 7 now.
Wow.
And so he was just going to block getting these girls pregnant. And so I was just one of his seeds there. You know, this my daughter, look, you know. So everybody in the hood, the block knew who I was. They knew I was Star Ward and Eric Child.
Okay.
But after that situation, I didn't grow up to have hate in my heart toward my family, to my parents. I just knew it was a disconnect with them. So at the age of 13 years old, and I shared with you last night that I started developing a way to isolate myself from reality. I started daydreaming, and daydreaming became a place where I can escape the pain. So I didn't have to deal with my mom and my dad not being in my life, because in my mind and in my soul, I am creating this family that I want. I'm creating this. Erica was broken. I had low self-esteem. All my friends were all this, and I wasn't. So in my mind, I was that. So when a situation would occur, when it was hard, when it was difficult for me to face stuff, I would go in my room and go into my mind, and that would be my place of comfort.
Yeah.
I was functional, and I'm thinking about it. I was functional. I passed all my classes being functional with that, and I was in LD class and all that stuff. And it's another testimony with that, but I just I just kept going, and then the Lord just kept, giving me where I needed to be.
So I know you had mentioned that your mom ended up moving back into the place, like something happened between her and her boyfriend, and she ended up coming back in, and then the role that she has kind of when she comes back to the house.
So she comes back into the house when I'm 13, and her sons is a couple of ages old, and she wanted to play a role as a mother. And she was talking to one of my brothers that's under me, and I didn't like how she was talking to him. So she was saying stuff like, Mom, get this, get that. And in my eyes, I'm like, girl, you ain't been here for years. Now all of a sudden you trying to tell him what to do. So my mom was like, little girl, I already know when a black mama said little girl, that means you better shut up and sit down somewhere. But my eyes, I'm like, I'm not little girl to you. So when she came up in my face, I came up in her face.
Oh, wow.
She was like, you better, my brothers and them, you know how they are. Boys are all, and so we face to face, and she grabbed my hair and I grabbed hers, and we was on top of the kitchen table. And we was rolling. And that day, my grandmother cussed. I mean, I ain't gonna say cuss, but she did. She went out. She cussed out me. She cussed out my mama. She told me that I don't know my place, and she told my mom she didn't know her place. That you know how that all that goes.
Yeah.
And like at that moment, I think that kind of caused me and my mom to be like, man, you really gonna hit your mom and the person that birthed you. So me and my mom literally had a fist fight.
Oh, wow.
I felt like, you don't have no authority to tell my brother what to do.
Yeah. So you feel like, I mean, I guess at that time you felt like, the perception of like knowing your place and being a kid and all this other stuff, that wasn't even a part of, that didn't even make sense to you at this point, because your mom never really stepped into a role of being your mom, but more like your sister.
Yeah.
And because she was acting more like your sister or somebody, a distant relative, you felt like she didn't have a place to tell you anything or tell your brothers anything, because she just wasn't there. She didn't offer you that guidance, or she didn't even act like you were her child. She allowed your grandmother to kind of take that role. And then now she's going to step in and you get into a major altercation. I remember, I recall you saying something to the effect that you broke a table and some other things.
We both broke a table because we big girls. We broke the table. My grandma was upset about that table.
Yeah.
And when I made it to high school, because sometimes when you don't have that parent or parents in your life, you get this type of thing in your heart when you want to become better than them.
Yeah.
And I had that in my heart too. And also when I got into high school, I remember I was talking to my youth guidance counselor. And I was telling her, I was like, you know what? I don't have to live like this. I can be better than my parents. And she said, Eric, you just had an epiphany. You can be better than your parents. And so at that moment, I knew that my mom couldn't be the mom that I needed. I knew at that moment my father could not be the father that I needed at that moment. And so that kind of knowing on the inside of me that my parents could not parent me how I needed, I felt like it ushered me, or I'm going to say it guided me and made a way for me to graduate out of high school, top 20 of my class. It made me, it made a way for me to go to college all the way to Kentucky, 6 hours away from Chicago, and graduate with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. It made a way for me to get to Rhema because I just let it all go.
So you're saying you had this epiphany that you wanted to be better than your parents, and then like that drove you to be better than where they are.
Yes.
What did that do to you emotionally though? Like, I mean, at that point in time, you have this epiphany, you're tenacious. Now you're going after your goals and everything. Are you left empty? Are you missing out on the fact that they're not a part of your life anymore?
I was numb. A lot of people didn't know. I didn't have no pain. I didn't have no anger, but I was completely numb.
Hmm.
And I think that that's the worst type of pain because you don't feel nothing. You don't give yourself enough chance to feel what you really need to feel. And I was numb. The darkness that I went to with that daydreaming stuff, all that addiction of daydreaming constantly made me not be in touch of who I was. I lost years of not finding what I like, what I dislike, what kind of goals I wanted in life. Like everything that I did, if my grandma told me to do it, I do it. Like she told me to get my degree in criminal justice, I did that because I didn't have a sense of knowing who I was. So anytime somebody tell me to do something, like my grandma, because I respect her, I will do it. So now that I'm looking back over my life, I wish I would have just took the time to figure out what I really wanted to do.
Oh, wow. So, your way of coping was kind of like going on automatic pilot. You were numb, so then you went on autopilot. The person that you respected, they could tell you kind of whatever, and you would just go for
Yeah,
it.
I will go
And
for it.
but you lost a sense of self because you didn't necessarily have. You were so numb from the
Mhm.
treatment that you were getting from your parents,
Yes, I
right?
was very numb.
Do you feel like, and to address Michelle's question, that we're kind of talking about, did you at any point in time, did your parents, your father, your mother, did they show you any type of love or affection, or was it always this disconnect?
It was always this disconnect, but I always tried to embrace. Like my daddy hugged me, my mom sometimes hugged me, but it was just like a pat on the back. Yeah, 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 you know. But because of my family, we're not really a huggy type of people.
Okay.
And you kind of learn the love language of your family, and you know what family to give a hug to, you know what family member not to give a hug to. And so I think that when I got saved, for real, at 22 years old, and God started taking me to different churches and stuff, and I went to a church called Heavenly Outpour Church. They just love me to the point where I just embrace hugs. And I used to be like, man, they hug all the time. And so they be like, I love you. They be like, I love you, sis. And my pastor, Pastor Finley, he be like, I love you. And I'd be like, okay. He'd be like, I love you. And I'd be like, okay. And I said, I love you. I love you too, you know. So I thank God, and this is what I was gonna say to the young lady about God will send people to love on you. And sometimes it might not be the person that you want to love on you, but he will send key people to you to help navigate you through your life. So though I did not have a mother, I can trace back all the women that have impacted my life has been a mother to me. Even right now in my life, I have a mother figure now. That if I call her right now, I'm on live right now, I guarantee she'll be rolling up here and like everything's okay because God has placed her in my life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I know you had mentioned that the pastor and some of the members of the church, they told you that they loved you. Did you hear those words from your family members? Is that something that was like commonplace, saying
No,
"I love you"?
I don't even know. Like I know my grandma loved me, but that's not something that we'll say I love you. Now we say it, you know, because I'm like, I love you. She's like, yeah, 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 I love you now because I have to be the first one. And
Yeah,
sometimes, you know, even though you waiting on that person to be the first person to say I love you, it's okay to be the first person to say I love you too.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know? So that's what I learned. Like if, you know, I try to give my grandma, my mama a hug and they trying to push me, I was like, okay, I love you. And they laugh, you know. So yeah.
Yeah. Do you think not hearing those words kind of attributed to being numb? To you being numb, not hearing "I love you," not having the affection, not feeling like they actually cared for you as a child. Did you
It
feel?
made me, I feel like that not having love made me have surface relationships with people.
Oh, okay.
People, people that I meet, they never get to know the real me. You know, the deep side of me, or, you know, like, you know, oh, I know Erica. A lot of people don't know me because all my relations have been like this. Hi, how are you? I'm doing good. And that's it. You know, I don't tell them anything else unless, you know, that person is dear to my heart. I will let you in and let you know, because people be like, man, you went through that? I'm like, yeah, I went through it. But, you know, all my relationships has been surface. All my relationships, some of my relationships, like in high school, when you was asking about relationships, I was thinking about all these relationships I had in high school. Those relationships in high school was based on a fantasy and a fakeness. I had a fake friendship with people. It wasn't
wow.
real.
Okay.
Even with, you know, I still got a couple of friends from high school and I still love them, but they just don't know I was pretending sometimes to do stuff.
Oh, wow.
You know, and when they have conversations, I would make up a story to fit with them. You know,
wow.
I always had this desire because I felt like I didn't fit in nowhere.
Yeah.
So I would have like, girl, yeah, I got a boyfriend. No, I don't got no boyfriend. Girl, yeah, you know, and knowing my grandma don't let me out late at night, you know,
yeah.
like that, because, you know, in that generation in Chicago, in the hood, you know, women and girls are doing all type of stuff. And so when we get to the lunchroom table, we like discussing all type of stuff. And I'm just like, well, I just was in my room eating pizza, you know? And so I'm for real. So I would have the desire to be like them.
Yeah.
Now, you know, so I went through that too. The peer pressure, trying to be like everybody else.
Yeah.
And I like simmer down, like, this ain't for you. Like I was telling you that story about my freshman year high school, and outside, and this guy was like, hey, let's go beat up these people. So I was like, yeah, let's go. So we go up there trying to fight, knowing I had no business going up there fighting. And somebody hit me in the face and gave me a black eye. And at that moment, I knew God didn't call me to be in the game. You know? God don't even have to teach. I don't have to go through something once. I don't have to go through it 3, 4, 5 times. Only once I learned my lesson. And I found out that I was not called to be in a game.
Oh my God.
I was not called to be in a game.
That's hilarious. I gotta get my bearings. I'm sorry, Erica. So you're basically saying, you know, you had surface relationships, you made up things. There's a lot of fantasy behind what your relationships are. Everything is pretty superficial. And then you come to, I know we talked about you coming to Rhema. Rhema is, just for those of you that don't know, Rhema is a Bible training college. And it's really awesome. If you're interested in the Bible and you want to know more, I mean, I know they didn't give me a plug or tell me to plug this, but I honestly think that, you know, Rhema is a great place for anybody that wants to go deeper and have a balanced understanding of the Word of God and be able to to move forward in your life and things of that nature. But, you know, if that's not your forte, totally understand. But, you know, it is a plug. I'm giving you a plug. Right away. But I will say that my own personal experience, I had plenty of times when I came to the end of myself at Rhema where I really had to make some decisions and kind of like a breaking point or a fork in the road, so to speak, where I had to make some changes. Do you feel like being at Rhema and like having you know, just new relationships, you're in a new environment, the things that they're sharing about the value and the place of relationships in your life, do you feel like that changed some things for you in your life? And did you reach back and kind of go to have those relationships with people? Like you said, maybe I think we were talking about your grandparents and your brothers and things of that nature.
Yeah. Rhema, you know, Rhema Bible Training College, I thought that I was just going there just to learn about the Bible and to get ready for ministry. But to me, I felt like Rhema was a rehab for my mind, because I mean, I had so much scar tissue in my brain and in my mind and demonic activity, because remember I told you I had that daydreaming thing addiction. I got delivered from that at 22 in 2012, but I still had residue from my mind being like, okay, one day I'm thinking this, and it gave like the enemy an open door to torment me. So I'm going through torment after I get freshly delivered. The enemy is tormenting me. A lot of people don't know that. They see me worshiping and dancing, and I'm fighting for my life basically in my mind, because every thought that I'm having is an ill, vain thought that the enemy is telling me that I will never recover. So I'm praise dancing, and the enemy is steady attacking me. So when I got to Rhema, and the word began to come real to me, and knowing that I received the word of God in my mind and in my spirit and stuff, it just transformed me. Like, I mean, to the point where the Lord had to tell me when I went to Sunday school, he was like, don't hold back, just be you.
Yeah.
Be you. Don't, be in this, I don't do that, no, you do that. You smart, you beautiful, you can do that, because usually I tell myself, that's not for me. And so I really had to grow out of that, and I still am growing out of that. So after when I had got out of Rhema, I had to move back to Chicago. And God began to have me to have good memories with my family, because I barely have good memories with my family because of that addiction that I had, that I was so bound in my mind there that I don't have good concept of memory at all. So when my brothers be like, you remember that so-and-so? I'm like, I don't remember that. So when I left Rhema in 2019, God was restoring me to have good memory. So now, if something ever happened to my grandma, I remember us baking a cake together, and she laughing like, girl, you better learn how to bake a cake for a man, and stuff like that, and cooking bacon for her. Like, she talked about my bacon so bad. She said, you can't make no bacon. What's wrong with you? And stuff.
You said bacon?
Bacon.
Like the bacon, you just stick it in the oven, the bacon?
Yeah. I messed up some bacon.
How
But I'm a good bacon maker now.
Okay. Grandma taught you how to make some bacon. Barbara taught you how to make bacon.
Yeah, Barbara taught me how to make bacon. So now I have those memories, and I'm happy.
That's really good.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about something that you said before. For those of you that are not familiar with some of the terminology that we're using, I just kind of want to break it down. When she's talking about being bound in your mind, meaning to this extent to where sometimes we have thoughts that flood us, and they're very tormenting. They're thoughts that are associated with like neurotransmitters, and I know it's a whole lot of brain talk, but basically sometimes when you get into a negative pattern, your brain will start firing off negative thoughts. And until you change that type of thinking, your mind will automatically go to those thoughts. So you can think of it as like creating a road or a street or whatever in your mind. So because Erica had mentioned, kind of being in this fantasy life and kind of a make-believe and kind of a deceptive life or whatever that is, because she was in that mindset, it was creating pathways and roads of fantasy where she was detaching from reality.
Yeah.
Just to give, kind of some clarification on that. And when she said that she became a Christian, she was able to create new pathways of thought, which were good thoughts towards her. She was a child of God, that she's beautiful, that she's smart, that she's intelligent, that she can have really good relationships. So those were neurotransmitters that were creating new pathways and new ways of thinking to where she wasn't so tormented in her mind. But just to kind of give you a little bit more clarification on what that looks like, we have to, sometimes our minds go into a pattern. You're not loved. They hate you because of the things that we've experienced. And Erica experienced up to this point, all of the pain and the anguish that she had from her parents and the relationships, from not feeling loved by them, from not getting the embrace that they should have given her. She's feeling rejected. And because of that rejection, she's gone into numbness. And because of that numbness, she's allowing people to hurt her on a regular basis because she thinks it's a normal place.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Oh, that's good.
So I just kind of wanted to kind of clear that up, because sometimes, just for people that are not necessarily in our circles and don't necessarily, believe the way that we believe, just to kind of break it down on just a basic level. Our thoughts kind of get into a pattern, and we have to catch ourselves. Sometimes we think we have negative speak about ourselves in our minds, and we have to catch those thoughts. For Erica and for me, we've chosen to think thoughts, right? That are according to the Bible,
Yes.
that what it says about us, and it says that we're lovely, we're beautifully created, we were formed, we were designed by Him, we are loved.
Yes.
Those types of things to make new paths.
Yes. I love that.
So
I
let
love
me get off of that. And let's kind of jump back into your story, Erica. You said that now you have better relationships, now you have memories. Let's talk about kind of the dynamic with, because I think we've got about, what is it? We got about 20 minutes left.
Okay.
In the discussion. So let's go back. Let's jump back in. You know, you've opened your heart to Christ. He's come into your life. You're living a new path. What's your relationship what's your relationship now like with your parents?
So I had to really, I'm trying not to be preachy, but when that moment when Doug Jones told me in that classroom at Rhema, in the classroom, when he said that we must honor and respect our parents. At that moment, I knew that I did not honor and I did not respect my parents. I tolerated them to a certain degree. And when they got on my nerves, I shut down. So after every year when I left to go, when school was over in the summertime, I did something that I never did before. I spent the night with my mama. And we slept in the same bed. It only lasted like an hour because she was like, oh God, you're too big to be in this bed. So, but at that moment,
Thanks, Mom.
It's boring my relationship because in that next morning when we woke up, I went into the shower. She comes right in behind me and I'm like, can you give me some space? I'm about to take a shower. And she's bawling. Like wow. She's crying. And she's apologizing for not being there for me.
Wow.
And I said, and I'm looking like, why is she having a moment in the bathroom? Like at all places, And then I had to okay, I love you. So I started giving her stuff. I started giving her everything that I had in my suitcase, perfume. That was my first start of showing her love. Then I get to Chicago. And mind you, I don't know where my daddy lives at. I know where his parents stay at, but I don't know where my daddy is. He's always on the corner selling loose squares. And what is loose squares? Cigarettes. So I knew one day with my granddaddy, when we was driving the hood, I told my granddaddy's friend, I say, hey, let's ride past 69th Street. This is where all the drug addicts and all this stuff is activity. And let's see if we see Eric. That's my dad. So we see him. And I jumped out the car and I gave him a hug. And he was selling cigarettes. And I gave him some money. And that was it. So that was my first time, not my first time giving money, but just showing that I'm trying to make an effort.
Yeah.
To bond with my parents. And sometimes it's not easy to bond. Sometimes I know when to cut it off and to okay, I'll talk to you in a few days when you're not upset. So God is mending and restoring our relationship slowly,
So let me say, let's kind of go back there because I like what he said. So to some degree, you would say that your parents are not necessarily in the most healthiest place to have a relationship with you.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay. You would say that to some degree there is some toxicity there.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So if you put yourself in a position and you allowed them to say things that were damaging or hurtful, they could hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Yes.
Correct. Okay. So when you're saying that you are honoring, meaning you're highly thinking of them very highly,
mm-hmm.
and respecting them, you're not necessarily saying that you're giving them a free pass to beat up on you, to say damaging things to you,
no,
to say hurtful things that will cause you more pain.
No.
Okay, you're not saying that. But what I think I hear you saying is even at a level of being highly toxic, right? That's where they are and you love them in the place of where they are. Is that what you're telling me?
And I have to respect it. I can't demand that. I have to know their level. I heard one preacher say, you have to know each person's capacity and how much they can care for you. And I know how much my mom can be a mom to me. I know how much my dad can be a dad to me. So my expectations of them is very low. If I can.
Ooh, that's good. That's good. Okay, I'm sorry. You said a couple things there. You said, I know that they can only love me at this certain point.
Right.
So I don't demand more love from them.
Yes.
I respect the place that is very low and it's not what it should be.
Right.
I respect that place and I have to accept that.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I would want more, I can't expect more.
Mm-mm.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying to me?
Yeah. Because it keeps you from getting hurt over and over again. When you have this high bar expectation and your mom and your dad don't fulfill that, and then now that puts offense in your heart. So in order to protect myself, I know the level that my mom can give me. I know the level that my dad can give me. And that's okay. I'm not lowballing them, but I know they can't give me everything that I need.
Okay.
That protects me.
So let me ask you this. Do you feel like you're missing out on the love that they have because they can't give you more? Or do you get that from other places?
You know what? I used to feel like I was missing out, but like I said, like Jesus came into my heart, and I know like when you receive God, believe in Him, that God began to send people and show me what love is. And I'm still developing that. Every day it's a walk for me to love them. So I'm not sitting here like, oh my God, I love them. I'm growing into my love to love my mom as my mom and love my dad as my dad. But I know I have a low expectation of what they can give me. It's not high, it's very low. So I keep myself at this point where I don't get hurt.
So you do receive everything that they give you. It's like a gift.
Yes.
When they give you something, it's like a gift.
Yes.
Because you have no expectation on that level. Wow.
Yeah.
To some, I mean, that takes a lot to move forward from.
Yeah, and you have to, because if you continue to be like, well, my mom not this, my mom not that, and you get into this low place and you can't see your way out. And so in order for me to move forward, I had to okay, mom and dad, I love you, but I have to put you in this type of category. Well, not category, but just, I had to protect myself in order for me to move forward in life. And go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I want to hear.
I was going to say, I talk a lot just in my personal, if you know me personally, I talk about this a lot. I had walls around my heart. If you've seen any of my blog posts, this is not a plug for that, but I'm just saying I talk a lot about being protected because I felt like when I should have been, the people that should have kept me safe didn't keep me safe. I had to protect myself in some way. My mom was talking the other day when we were on the show. She said that she had walls around her heart of fear.
Yes.
And it wasn't necessary. The walls were not, did not necessarily protect. They hurt. Because I look at it like this. If I have a fence around my heart or a boundary around my heart, I can still see over that fence. I still can open the door and let you in. Right? But if I have a wall that's guarding my heart, then there's no way for me to get out. There's no door. Right? And then I'm trying to jump over. I'm trying to kick the wall down. I'm trying to get out some kind of way. But it's not only protecting people from getting it's not getting in, but it's protecting me from getting out. Right?
Yes.
So would you say that when you say that I'm protecting myself, would you say that it's a wall, or would you say that it's more like a fence? Because
I have to let people in. I have, and sometimes when you don't have parents and, people are not, you look at people like, everybody get over here. I don't want to tolerate none of y'all. But God has bring people in your life to help you. So you cannot tell those people to get out. So God, I feel like it's a fence around me, and I let people in that I know that has love for me. Like I got a lot of people in my heart. Like usually I'm like, no, I don't love nobody. But now since I have grown and I just embrace love now. Like I love people. I'm growing in that every day, and I love my parents. I forgive my parents. It's no ill will for them. You know, I can call my mom right now. I can call my dad right now and talk to them. It's nothing, no ill will. I love my parents, and
You
I adore them.
I remember you telling me this like last night. You said that you understand the fact that your parents can't be parents to you, but if there's a way for you to encourage them, you do that.
Yes. Because now the roles have shifted. Instead of them parenting me and telling me don't do this, I'm the one that be like, hey, daddy, don't say that. You know, go ahead and call your sister or call your daddy and make it up. Or mom, you know, don't say that. You don't mean that. So now I'm taking a role of that encourager or that peacemaker, you know, that God has like, you know, I believe called me to help them because they need help, you know, and I'm happy with that position that I'm in. I'm not upset. I'm not like, Lord, you know, and I do have my days and I'm like, Lord, why can't my mom encourage me? Why can't my dad encourage me? It is times when, you know, they do. And I'm like, whoa, where that come from? You know, and I'm like, that really was a blessing to me, mom and dad, you know. But I will say this is one of the things that I am challenged with is that I cannot call my daddy. I can say daddy or mom, but sometimes I call them by their first name. So I'm trying to, and I know that hurts my mom feelings when I say her name because you know she's like you being disrespectful, you know. But I'm learning to say mom. I'm learning to say daddy, you know. To you know, yeah,
You know, the thing that I see and I hear, Erica, is that this process isn't necessarily an easy one
no,
because when we come into this world, we automatically expect the people that birthed us or that our parents, our biological parents, we expect them to love us. Now,
yeah,
some people get the privilege of being adopted into a family that wants them, that loves
mhm,
them, and sometimes we just don't, and we have to deal with the hand that we're dealt.
mhm,
And a lot of times, our confidence level is low because the people that should have loved us first, the people that should have loved us completely and accepted who we were and, accepted us, embraced us, loved on us, showed affection to us, didn't necessarily want to have anything to do with us.
yeah.
That's gripping and it's saddening and it hurts.
But
But
yeah,
the beautiful thing that I hear you say is that even with those challenges, you overcame and you still battle with that sometimes.
yeah,
So this is not, I mean, yeah, we're giving a story of overcoming, we're giving a story of, you can move past it, but we all have weak moments,
yeah.
right?
And that is one of the things when you receive Christ, the Bible says that He is our helper. So He helps us and get us to, you know, even if when we're weak, He's helping us to get to that level. And one of the things I wanted to say to the viewers is that, you know, having a relationship with God is so important because if you don't have that relationship with God, it would be like, you know, pulling teeth out of people's mouths, you know. But when you have that relationship with God, He can help you be like, okay, back up. Don't say that. Switch up. Don't say that to your mom because it was plenty of times the Lord had to correct me and don't say that to your mom. Don't say that to your father. So that's how I have overcome moving forward is with God and also prayer and also the word. So the word helps me to move forward in my life with my relationship with my parents.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just I mean, sometimes we feel like we have a right to be upset. We have a right to
Yeah.
you know what I mean? We do. I mean, like, come on. I mean, like, I didn't ask to be here,
Yeah.
Um, and I didn't ask you to love me. You had me, like you brought me up in this world. But you know what I heard you say this last night when we were talking. Your mom is healing too.
Mm-hmm.
Your dad is healing too.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes in life, we expect a lot of our parents, especially as kids. I
Yeah,
mean,
because you want them. You want
right. You
them.
want them to be, our superhero. I mean, I know I saw my parents as Cape Crusaders when, when I was coming up. But you know what? I mean, I learned like as an adult, I look at some of the choices that my mom made, some of the choices that my dad made, and I realize, okay, well, I get that now. I see why they had that perspective, or based on these circumstances, I may have chosen the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So they're healing too. So to expect them or true perfection or expect them to love us wholeheartedly when they're dealing with issues themselves. So I know you had mentioned that your mother didn't experience a lot of love.
No,
So
didn't.
and if she didn't experience a lot of love, then how could she show you that love?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so that's one of the things that I had to learn. Like, my mom can only give me what she have. And if everybody got crumbs, I'm getting crumbs. She getting crumbs from my mom. Then now I'm getting crumbs. So, I just feel like my life has always been like this battle of relationships, me trying to bond. But I just had to, overcome that. Like I couldn't let my mom, my dad, my grandparents, my great grandparents, dictate where I was headed in life, because I knew God had greater for my life.
That's good. That's good. So we're going to close up here. I want to say thank you to Erica.
Thank you. Woo-hoo.
And I want to open the floor. I mean, does anybody have any questions for Erica? To answer. I mean, do you want to say anything? The floor is kind of open for you. We'll leave it open for a couple seconds. Just if you have any questions, just let us know. We're so grateful to totally be on here. I mean, I really enjoyed getting to talk to Erica about just this situation. It's totally cool. So I'm opening the floor for questions if you have them. We'll leave it open. So I wanted to give some shout outs while we're waiting on questions. I wanted to say hey to Pastor Judy. Hey, David. David West. Hey, Monique. How you doing? Janine, how you doing? Hey, Kim. It's good to see you on here. Chastity, it's good to see you on here. Francho, you know Francho, don't you?
Yeah, that's
great. Hey, Francho. Charmaine's my sister-in-law. Hey, Charmaine. Sonia. Hey, Gail. Hey, Marcus. Hey, Kalita. Let's see, Chad and Aaron. Hey. Marie Williams, is that one of your family members? She said she loves you, cuz, and this is a blessing. And she can relate to that. Yeah. And I think you had somebody else on here that said, let's see, where else? There was somebody else that said they loved you, cousin. Where is that at? They said they love you.
I had to
Valerie McCurry. She said, "Hey, I love you always."
I love you too, Valerie.
Yeah. Hey, Sonia. You're welcome. You're welcome. We're so glad to be on here. Yeah, I think this was amazing. I mean, this was Erica. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Kalita. She said this is so good and so important and so foundational. Thank you so much. I mean, we really appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to listen to us.
Yes.
And to hear Erica's story. Erica, I didn't mention this at the beginning, but Erica is a praise dancer. You still praise dancing, Erica?
Yes.
And Erica's from Chicago, and she lives in Frankfort, Kentucky. Now, this is crazy. I'm from Louisville, right? Came all the way up here to Tulsa, and she moves to Frankfort.
Yes. I don't know what that
Go figure, right? Yeah. So shout out to my Louisville people.
Yes.
But Erica's a preacher. I've heard Erica preach a couple times. She's a prayer, and Erica, you've got a channel, don't you? Is it a YouTube channel, Facebook
It's
page?
a Facebook page, Erica Moon Ministries. It's a
Okay.
page, encouragement page, and teaching people how to overcome circumstances.
Yeah, yeah. So we know Erica's telling the truth because she had to overcome a whole lot.
Yes. Thank you, Lord.
So, as I mentioned to you guys before, Relationship Matters 2020 is all about building relationships. It's about strengthening relationships. And even when you have situations that seem like they are irreparable, when they seem like all else is lost, all hope is lost, Relationships Matter is a testimony. It's a testimony for people to know that any relationship that you may have can be brought from the grave to resurrection.
Yeah.
It can be revived all over again.
Thank you, Lord.
All right. So thank you so much. We love you guys, and tune in next time. Marcus and I will be on here talking about submission.
I'm gonna have to be tuning in.
So tune in. We'll be on here Monday. Monday at 6:00 Central Standard Time. We love you guys. Hey, Mom, I love you so much. Miss you. Talk to you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.